So here's how I insulated my roof. I mixed two types of insulation on the top, and I've come to learn that maybe I shouldn't have done it. Stay along, and I'll walk you through my thought processes back and forth, whether this is right, whether this is wrong. So the question is, why shouldn't you mix types of insulation? Why can't you do it? Why can't you have foam and then have fiberglass as I did here? What problems does this cause? And so I researched it. First of all, I had some people telling me online, I had somebody commenting on one of my videos that this is absolutely wrong. My kids are going to get sick. It's going to cause mold, a ton of different issues. And so I researched it. I looked it up, Googled it, and I couldn't find much. Everything said you could mix them. So I thought, oh, it's just fine. It'll be all right. I asked some friends, and they said the same thing, that, oh, you don't have to worry about it. So I thought, it'll be fine. I had to ask some builders, some people that build houses, and they said it'd be fine. And maybe it would be fine. I've gone back and forth on this a couple times, so I'll walk you through this process. What I think I did wrong, why I think I did it wrong, and why I had to just tear it up. So I just lifted it back up, tore it out. So this is how my house looks. This is the insulation I have. I have tongue and groove over exposed beam rafters with this EPS foam on the outside. So basically what I'm creating here is a wrap around my whole house. You can see how I did this. I stacked it up and I tried to make my seams as tight as possible, because that's one thing I have learned is you don't want to have any air flowing through this, so if you insulate like this on the outside. And it made for a rather beautiful look inside. I think in the end I'm going to be really happy I did it this way. It is also a more efficient form of insulation because you're insulating only on the outside, so you don't have any what they call thermal bridges from the inside to the outside that's going to let it cold in and out. And the exposed beams is really nice. So this is along the ridge pole there where I was insulating with the fiberglass is underneath. So there's this little gaps you can see above there because there's a small difference between the rafters. And this shows you that ridge pole walking down there, looking at the tongue and groove and up at the top. And so there's these little gaps where the air can flow out. So I thought, hey, I'm going to put a little bit of something up there. So I decided I would put fiberglass up there. Well, I went out and checked it a couple days afterwards, and I looked at it, and this kind of shows you what I was doing up there. I looked at it and I had some wet spots. So you can see my tongue groove's wet here, and my fiberglass itself was actually wet because it had condensated up there. And this is why you shouldn't do this, because the fiberglass has how it insulates is by small air pockets within the glass itself, and that allows air to flow through. So basically the idea is fiberglass actually insulates using air, and styrofoam insulates using, well, styrofoam and plastic. I should say right now that I don't know for sure what I'm talking about. I studied this a little bit, but I'm not a professional when it comes to insulation, and so you can drop some comments down below and I will highlight your answer if I think it's good, or you can start a conversation there. I'll just show you what I did and tell me whether I'm right or wrong. But this is what I did. I pulled it all out and lifted it all up, took it back. So it took a little bit of time peeling it back, but after a while it did get done. And when I was doing this, I saw this condensation. You can see a little bit of moisture here on my fingers. It's kind of hard to see with this camera, but I was getting some condensation up above. So what was happening basically is warm air would come up from underneath, flow through the fiberglass, and because it doesn't, it's not airtight, and it would condensate along the top of that, along my vapor barrier, because that vapor barrier is dark, especially. So that caused it to condensate, especially right in there. So that's basically the issue that you cause with having two different types of insulation, where you have a cold styrofoam and then warm air within your fiberglass. So that kind of causes these two different temperatures. So imagine if you have glasses like I do and you go into a cold place or a warm place, then you know how condensation works. It warms it up, makes this moisture right there. So that's the problem that it causes here, and then after a while that moisture will grow and it'll get a fungus in it, some for mold, whatever, and you're going to have mold in your house, which is a big problem. You don't want to have mold issues that cause respiratory issues, all kinds of issues down the line. So that's one reason you want to get on top of this right away. You don't want to have mold, you don't want to have rotting issues, you want to make sure you don't do this. So this is worth tearing out right now because I have everything exposed, and open to the outside, so that's the perfect time to get at it and to get it done. What I'm basically trying to attain with this roof, and I learned this kind of after the fact, is that I'm trying to make a warm roof. So there's two different types of roof styles. One is a warm roof, which is styrofoam insulation all around over the top. So you don't have any airflow, you don't have anything going through your roof basically. It's called a warm roof because it's supposed to stay warm. And then the other insulation style is with fiberglass, so you have a cold roof, which allows the air to flow in through there. That's another way of doing it, which here I was combining both warm and cold, causing condensation issues down the road. So I decided to take it all apart, take it all out. I get my styrofoam out of the top there, where the peak is, and spray this other spray foam in the joints. So I want to try to make sure it's as airtight as possible, because you either want to, as a guy that does insulation explained to me, either want to have airflow or you don't want to have any airflow. You don't want to have half airflow and half no airflow, because as soon as air flows somewhere and then stops, it's going to cause condensation or some other issue. So here's just a bit of a picture of me doing that. Styrofoam, spraying it in the gap, trying to keep all that sealed up, trying to get it as nice and tight in there as possible. And this styrofoam bottle was about empty, so it was just leaking out the end, or it's not styrofoam, spray foam, and it's leaking out the end, so I had to go get a new one. But I wanted to fill in all above that rafter, and I think I'm actually going to leave I'm going to box out little vents so that I can allow some air to flow up through, because you don't want to trap all your air inside your house. You want to have a little bit of airflow through your house so that you don't, you get fresh air, clean air, especially with a fireplace, so that you don't have any issues down the road with that, with whatever, you don't want to have stale air in your house. Sorry, my words getting tongued out. And then, so that's what I was doing, and I'm going to create those little vents, and then hopefully I can just come up and lift my ridge cap off and peer inside and see if there's any monsters gone in there or anything's happening down the road, and see whether or not I need to do something different. I just want to be able to monitor this, make sure I don't cause any issues, and catch it before I do. So I sprayed this styrofoam down there, or the spray foam down there, and then put my styrofoam, I'm calling it styrofoam, but it's EPS, I don't know all the technical terms for things, and put it down in there to help kind of fill all the joints, and then sprayed that stuff all around it, because once again, I don't want any air flowing through here where I don't want air. I want to have air flowing where I do want air, and no airflow where I don't want air, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I don't know much what I'm doing, but I'm hoping I'm explaining it decently well enough to you. It is kind of I couldn't find much literature on it, anything that talked about it that much. It's kind of hard to find it. I don't know why. And here's another issue that I had with putting styrofoam on top, is I had to make my eaves a little taller, which it looked fine in the end. So thank you for watching.